Mental health minute. Gonky, taking the high road.
Yeah.
I had a whole thing. Luna has now distracted me. I know there she goes. She can't. She's clawing at me. She's a good reason that you would take the high road. So the reason I brought this up is because we've talked about haters in social media, right? In fact, we even addressed it at the top of the show. People will say things that are very personal, and you want to respond, and you want to respond in the best way possible. And we've talked about how to deal with that. This is more when, as humans, we feel like we've been wronged. Somebody has done something to us. I specifically, or in particular, for example, I guess you could say, I spent 2 years dealing with a very obese person that wronged me, that I have very little respect for, and an egghead that Blue Falconed is to get that to that point. You can tell I'm still a little angry about it, but through that time, there were many opportunities to not take the high road, to use the tools that were available to find what you will in vengeance. And the thing about vengeance is, before you start a journey of revenge, dig 2 graves. That's from Confucius. I put it in the forward of my Absolute Vengeance book. We're going to plug all the books in this episode
on Amazon.
But the thing is, when you go to their level, when you do that, because there were a couple times, I've talked to you about, hey, well, I can make this right, but what do you get out of that? All it does is it makes you worse. It brings you down to their level. It makes you no better than them. And it's not going to, it might give you some kind of temporary relief. You might feel like, oh yeah, well, I got them back. But it's not true justice. True justice is succeeding in the face of the adversity, succeeding in the face of the haters, doing well even when they're against you, doing well even when they're out there trying to get you, because your mental health you might feel a little temporary hit of, oh yeah, this worked out, but in the long run, you're still going to be miserable. And the only way to find that happiness is to move on, take the high road, turn the other cheek, and carry on with your life, because it'll eat you alive trying to find the vengeance and trying to show that, oh, you didn't get me. Well, you're just as bad, right? What do you think?
Yeah, as usual, you hit a lot of the high points in there, man. Obviously I'm a Christian, and one of the things that you kind of pick up if you read the Bible and go to sermons and stuff is, forgiveness is a huge part of it, right? So, and that's a huge part of taking the high road. I mean, there's a long list of people that have wronged me. I can't even remember, because I've forgiven them and I just move on, right? You don't want to forget, right? Because you need to learn from life's experiences, but you have to learn to forgive, and then literally take the high road, right? Kill them with niceness. It's like a Roadhouse, right? Tells them, just be nice. Right?
Yeah.
For those of you who've seen that movie. But we joke, right? But I own a trailer park, and with my manager, I own a couple, but with my manager, we're always dealing with problems and issues, and I'm constantly telling, man, just take the high road. There's no point in getting ugly. We'll just be nice, cordial, and see what happens. And that has served me. That has served me very well in business, and it's it just in life. Even before I was, the older I get, I had kids. That's when I've become a stronger Christian. But even when I was younger, I could see, like, Mover kind of, well, he didn't kind of, he, is the juice worth the squeeze? If I stoop to this person's level and, go head to head with him, what am I actually going to get out of it? And if you can just pause for a minute and run that scenario through in your head, a lot of times you can see it's like, man, it's better just to not engage, if you will. But I'm a big fan of it. Take the high road. I'm a big fan of never burning a bridge. And you know, you just never know as well. Whoever's attacking, you never know what the circumstances are either, right? So we tend to live in our own little worlds, and which with social media, I mean, I could go off on a tangent, but yeah.
You've said that
That's
to
all I
me
got.
many times about the particular person that I was talking about the dumpster fire of a life that person had, and
Yes.
how
Yeah.
if you go down to that level, you're no better than that. And I wanted to bring up, because that's a great point, about you don't know what they're going through, and not that it excuses their behavior, but you
Right.
don't want to put yourself on that level either, right? Because when you stoop to where they're at, you're no better. But when I was going through some of the stuff with the T38 and all that, one of the exercises you do is forgiveness, and we've talked about it on this channel about forgiving yourself, but it's also forgiving others. And even if you don't outwardly forgive them, you can just write it down. Here, this, you wrong, it's a you wronged me. This is what you did. This is why I don't like it. And guess what? I'm letting it go, because because you can let it consume you. It can be, it's the thing you think about when the quiet thoughts happen right before you go to sleep, and then you end up not sleeping. It's the thing you think about when you wake up, and then it's your whole life. Meanwhile, that person probably is never thinking about you again. They did the whatever douchebaggery that they had to do, and then they moved on with their lives. Meanwhile, you're completely consumed with it, and it makes you're not the person you should be. You're not living up to your potential and shining in the face of adversity, which is what makes us better. What builds our character is how we react to when things aren't good versus, when everything's working out. But
Yeah.
Doug, I wanted to ask your opinion, man.
Well, I had a really good piece, and then your reattack nailed it.
Damn it.
Just in case anybody thinks we script these things. The only thing I'd add is that a lot of us at different parts of our lives, we exist in fairly small, fairly insular organizations. You guys are as much an example as anything, and I'm the same. And if you do stoop to somebody's level and really lay a good one on them, it's liable to come back to haunt you. And the other piece of that is, for me, I mean, I've wanted to do that a bunch of times in my organization, and for the most part, I just outlasted people. People like that have a tendency to flame themselves out, and I'm still here and they're not. So that would be part of my perspective.
Not just you're still there and they're not, but I think nothing. If you were to say, if you had somebody that really came after you, and especially professionally, right? That's usually where some of these things happen, is where professionally somebody tries to end you, and the next thing you know, your face is in the Pentagon.
for good reasons, not bad.
And nothing will eat them alive more than knowing that you succeeded in spite of them.
Yeah, or man, you never know. It might change. You never know. It might change their perspective. Like, holy cow, I was wrong.
Yeah, who cares though?
Right, but I'm just saying. I mean, your actions speak louder than words, man. That's all I'm saying.
John says people who take the high road recognize their humanness, know that they need to be extended grace, and accordingly are more likely to extend it to others. Yeah, I agree. And then Kate says, in some cases, restitution is needed. Yeah, you're right. And that would be nice in a perfect world, but I think you can't expect that. She's gone. She's left me. You just can't. Yeah, you can't. I can tell you when something first happens, you think that's the answer, because everybody thinks it's cookie cutter. Someone wronged me. I prove my case. Everything works out, and they get their comeuppance. Doesn't work like that. It doesn't work like that. And not just in professional, but I've seen it in law enforcement where, there's nothing we can do, ma'am. Sorry. That is the unfortunate reality. And it goes back to when we talked about no one's coming to save you. If you sit there and wait for the justice to happen, you're going to eat yourself alive, because you're always going to be thinking about, well, how do I fix this? How do I make this right? How do I get the system to work for me? Because it's not gonna. But if you mentally, internally make it okay, then no one can affect your calm. No one can take that from you if you have learned to live with it and learn to take that high road and move on.